going to like this one. Cherbourg's Cathedral, France. Let's have a look at this one. Look at this Norman arch. Oh, it's spectacular, isn't it? Oh, you've got to love Norman architecture. The decorations. Oh wow, this is magnificent. I can be honest, the Normans certainly knew how to build a structure, massive columns to hold up this vaulted stone ceiling. There's lots of police presence today because we've got President Biden of America visiting Cherbourg, the military cemetery. The size of it. So we're on the 7th of June 2024, we just had D-Day yesterday. The celebrations are ongoing. Wow, look at this pulpit. It's all very Napoleonic here, isn't it? Probably is from that era. Beautiful wood, look. Outside on the marina, there's a magnificent statue to Napoleon Bonaparte, who was Emperor of France. Most famous for his military campaigns. And one of his military campaigns was the invasion of Egypt. So now we're actually in the transept, I believe. We're still in the nave, but we enter the transept. Which must be here. So I guess this would be a small chapel. And most of the church have been Catholic as such. So you'll see people entering, making the sign of the cross, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. You don't have to be religious to appreciate architecture in these buildings. It's incredible. So St. Mary Magdalene statue, I guess. You tell you're in France just by the names. Look at this magnificent Antoinette. Look. Wow. So this would be the South Transept. Whisper because people are coming for private. Perhaps they're praying. But just look at this. It's magnificent. I think this is the Patty Cross from memory. And we've got the fleur de lis, the lily of St Mary, I'm thinking. Up there, look. If you look at large churches and cathedrals, you'll see they'll have a raised sort of gallery. I've forgotten the name in English. But it's purely to give more sort of grandeur, but also to let them what lights they put in extra windows in the top with much tracery, and you can see the detail of the ribbed vaulted ceiling. Like I say, all in stone. In England they are mostly wood. I've not come across stone so far. In fact, the only vaulted ceilings I've seen in the British Isles so far have been in Wales. Now this sort of area interests me because it goes down to the original. If you look at these columns, you'll see this has been remodelled for centuries, but if you go down to the base you'll find the original profile. This would most likely be the original Norman base. Look at this. This is all original Norman. So William the Conqueror. I don't know the history of Bayeu's church, or cathedral should we say, but it's guaranteed he was here. Guaranteed. For Bayeux is not so far away, and his half-brother was bishop there. So we can tell we're in a Catholic cathedral, because we've got, there's various saints, Padre Pio, St Teresa and so on, Notre Dame, and St Anne. I'm not going to pronounce the words. French is virtually non-existent, but you get the gist. It's magnificent, isn't it? And you can see, because I sort of document English churches as an amateur, you can see where the French influence has come across for this magnificent tracery. In England we have the Reformation, and we would have kept so much of this if it had not been for that, where they destroyed anything in churches that was connected to Catholic popery, where Henry VIII separated and becomes Church of England, which we have today. So this would be a small chapel. And I'm guessing this would have been dedicated, maybe as it is now, to a saint. So it looks like this chapel is dedicated to St Mary the Virgin and Child Jesus. Now if we go around from the, I'm trying to get my bearings, I think this is a north transept. We're going to go around. No, this is the transept, sorry. It's magnificent size. Yeah, so this is the north transept. It's magnificent. I get a feeling that this is very old, this part of the church. And as my colleague said, the windows are very rich in colour. In England we tend not to go for such bold colours in such quantity because it makes it very dark. Remember that most churches in England, as here, had candlelight. Now into the corner. It's one of my all-time favourite saints, without a doubt. I've always admired Joan of Arc. It's a magnificent statue. Joan was a simple sort of peasant girl, and she had visions, and she went to a local priest who said that she's perhaps given by God these visions. She had a message that she wanted to give to one of the local, I think, dukes or lords. And from there she went to visit the king. Once she visited the king, or the future king of France, I believe, he was to become king, that's what it was. The king made a bet with his friends that he could tell that Joan was making this up, that she wasn't in fact divine in any way. So he got one of his colleagues to dress up as the king. And when Joan came into the room, she went straight to the real future king and knelt at him. He still wasn't convinced. So Joan, in private consultation with the future king, gave him a vision. Joan then went on to lead an army as a sort of mascot, unarmed. And after victory, the French believed that she was sent by God. Here we can see the fleur-de-lis, which always is associated with France, which stands for the flower of the lily. I was also saying that Joan was injured with an arrow. She had the arrow pulled out and went back into battle again. She was so popular with the soldiers. Eventually she was captured by the Burgundian army. She was given a chance to lead their army by the mother of the leader of the Burgundian army, but Joan said no, as she was faithful to France. Eventually, when the mother died, she lost her protection, and then she was sent off with the British, who tried her, a religious court, and they found her to be a heretic because she heard voices. And she was burned at the stake. Whilst on the stake, she begged for a cross to be made, presented to her, which was done in the form of wood. And Joan died with the cross of Jesus in front of her from a soldier who held it aloft as she burned at the stake. Later, the Pope of France, or many popes perhaps later, realised that she was the real deal, and they made her a saint. And I'm not exactly sure the patron saint of what, but she's very popular in France, and to a certain extent in England. Now, if we go down to what are the North Aisle, this is the South Aisle. Again, this would have been a chapel, this probably still is. Again, fairly dark windows, which is very unusual for, not used to this darkness of window. For anybody that likes or watches my videos, you'll know I like any light coming in through stained glass windows. Here we have a fine example, look at that, just a single point. Perhaps there's a hole in the glass. So this part of this is kind of similar to the English Norman architecture, the vaulted bays, I think they're called. Although at the top we would have the woodwork, wood ceiling. And this would be a chapel. And at the top we have St Mary. Apologies. If we look here, we've got the grills off the window. Everything's so detailed. Here we have the piscina, where the Catholic vessels for Mass are washed. This drains into the holy ground outside. This shelf would be where the priest would keep the vessels while Mass is carried out here. They probably have a kneeling, an altar kneeler. Now we're going to go into the most sacred part of the church. Actually, I'm going to go backwards. Okay, now we've entered, or facing the chapel itself. Sorry, not the chapel, losing my bearings, the chantry. Sorry, chancel. So chancel is a sacred part of this magnificent cathedral. Just look at the detail. It's on such a grand scale. I got a feeling these could be perhaps for the choir. This could be the choir stalls, or the bishop, not the bishops, but the church officials. I'm not sure. This could be, in fact, where the music's sung from. Now we've got a magnificent reredos, probably the biggest I've actually seen. We look down at the floor, the tiles fleur-de-lis of France, which you see everywhere. Magnificent marble, reredos, which means to the rear of the altar. Wow, what a magnificence, all gilded. I guess this is sort of a Georgian in our period, Napoleonic or something like this, I don't know. But it rises up. It's a magnificent statue. Shows Jesus, I guess. There's a dove coming down, which goes into light coming through a window. I've never seen that before. If we pan around, we've got Jesus is sort of flanked by two angels. He clasps hands. If we go around, we've got a view all the way through a very large nave. Now we're going to go into the north aisle. We've got one of the many, I guess there's a few organs in this cathedral. This is quite common, as in English churches of a certain size, they can select the organ for the part of the building they're going to play from. Now this vaulted ceiling is different to the rest. See the central boss, and you can see the brickwork. I have a feeling, like English churches, that the architecture will be from not only Norman, but it'll be 14th century, seems to be. Around either side of the 100 Years' War, there was a big building campaign. Again, a small altar for an English church that would be about the right size. Magnificent carving, with tracery. This one flanked above a niche. It's got Jesus. Fine statue, isn't it? You see, it's got his blessed heart. Got a magnificent carving of Jesus, almost life size in wood. So one of the church sort of wardens there said this is not a cathedral, it's actually a basilica. Is that Basilica? I don't know. Must be sort of a different name. Magnificent tiles. Okay, now we're going to walk straight out of the north aisle, past the statue of Joan of Arc. Past the columns. You can imagine how many people they could get in here. Definitely in the hundreds. There's a niche where a statue once stood. No more now. In here, relics. I don't know what's in there. And we're now going out to Westall. I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much.